let's talk about the Shanks iceberg. And I'm not talking about shipping these two characters. The iceberg that contains the greatest mysteries and theories about Red Hair Shanks, the most legendary character in One Piece. In case you don't know, the iceberg video format is a system of levels starting with popular and mainstream theories and mysteries of a certain topic. The stuff at the tip of the iceberg, everyone knows basically, and then you move deeper and deeper towards the wildest and darkest theories that the internet has to offer. Starting with tier 1. Now, we all know that Goldie Roger is the one who set off the Great Pirate Era, however, Shanks is just as responsible for launching the events of the series. Even though Luffy is following in the steps of the first Pirate King, his actual goal is to reunite with Shanks and return the Straw Hats. And so the whole series has basically been leading to the point where Luffy is a powerful enough pirate to meet Shanks once again. But what has Shanks been up to in the meantime? Well, our first stop on our icy tour of Shanks fan theories brings us to the town that we see in chapter 1 of One Piece, Windmill Village. Over the time skip, we learned that Makino, the bartender at the local bar, was pregnant and had a baby. Who's the father? Well, our money is on the bar's regular, Shanks. And this next one is also a bit of a softball theory, but they don't call it tier number 1 for nothing. Well, we're still here above the surface of the water, so this idea is pretty much on the nose. We're going to make the bold statement that Shanks wants Luffy to become the Pirate King. After all, he inspired him, gave him his fruit, sacrificed his arm for him, and gave him his hat because he believes that Luffy is the one who will become the Pirate King and find the One Piece. Pretty straightforward. So let's go underwater and onwards to tier number 2. As we climb below the depth, we bring our submarine to the subtext of the story. Starting with the idea that Shanks is evil. Yeah, the opposite of what we just said. Shanks has had some sinister ulterior motives all along. After all, he is super mysterious and has had meetings with the Gorosei, known villains of the series. So Shanks must be evil. And not only is Shanks evil, but another popular fan theory says that he's actually the final boss of One Piece overall. What a twist it would be if it's not Emu or Kainu or Blackbeard at all, but instead, Luffy's final obstacle in reaching the One Piece will be his own mentor, the person that he's been looking up to since chapter 1 of the entire series. And here's another great conspiracy. You know that Shanks has the craziest haki that we've seen in the entire series. In chapter 1, after losing his arm, he uses Conqueror's haki to get the Lord of the Coast to flee. But surely his armament and observation haki are strong enough to have avoided having his arm bitten off in the first place. And so this theory says that Shanks lost his arm on purpose because that way Luffy would feel guilty over what happened and would continue to feel driven to chase after Shanks on the journey to becoming Pirate King. I'd rate that pretty likely still, so let's descend to tier number 3 of the Shanks iceberg, and now we get some really obscure facts, things that we would never see if we had stayed on the surface. Facts like this: Shanks' sword is named Griffin after the mythical creature. We're not sure what the origin or the grade of the sword is, but it's perfectly capable of clashing with Whitebeard's supreme grade blades. And this next one is huge. Film red spoilers incoming, by the way, but this theory is all but confirmed after the latest One Piece movie. In a short clip, it's heavily implied that Goldie Roger found Shanks as a baby in a treasure chest, likely on God Valley, the home of the Celestial Dragon. And his world noble status would also explain why Shanks is able to demand an audience with the Gorosei, and might even explain why he was able to put an end to the Marineford War. In case Shanks doesn't turn out to be a Celestial Dragon though, don't worry, we have a theory for that too. Because with us continually finding out that certain characters such as Trafalgar D. Waterlaw are secretly Ds, the fan base guesses that just about every character could be a secret member of the D-Clan, and Shanks, of course, is no exception, being one of the most powerful and significant pirates in the world. Plenty of fans think that he might be a D as well. And arriving at tier number 4, we're almost halfway to the bottom of our iceberg. What kind of wild Shanks theories will lie in store for us here? Oh, by the way, if you want to see more of these iceberg videos, make sure to subscribe and let me know which one you'd like to see next. Okay, so there is a lot of mystery around what Shanks' true goal is. What is he trying to accomplish? The reason that he wanted to stop the war and stop Blackbeard's ascension is because, like the Gorosei, he shares the goal of keeping relative peace through the power of the world being balanced between the world government, the Yonko, and the Shichibukai. Well, that didn't exactly turn out great then, did it? And so now I think it's time to talk a little bit about the inspiration for Shanks' design and character, specifically the Norse god Tyr. Because much like this god, Shanks has one arm and is renowned as a swordsman. Shanks' ship, the Red Force, takes clear inspiration from Viking designs. And so it's for this reason that it's heavily speculated that when the crew heads to Elbaf, Shanks will finally take a central role in the story, as he will be the warden of that island. And this next theory says that Shanks didn't just give Luffy the straw hat to remember him by. The straw hat itself is an important piece in the puzzle of finding the One Piece or becoming Joy Boy. After all, we do know that Shanks was given the hat by Roger originally, and we've seen that Imu keeps a giant frozen straw hat beneath Marijoa. So could the straw hat be more than just a straw hat? A piece of clothing? Which already brings us to tier number 5, and now we're starting to get a lot deeper on this iceberg, so brace yourself because things will get weirder from here on out. Because it may have looked like Luffy eating the Gomu Gomu no Mi was just a simple accident, but what if Shanks actually fed Luffy the fruit on purpose? Knowing Luffy's lack of willpower, he left this super valuable treasure out and available, knowing that Luffy wouldn't be able to resist taking a bite here. Which sounds wild, but not nearly as wild as this next one, because many One Piece viewers think that the Davy Bag fight will make its way back into the story somehow. Because as you know, while the Davy Bag fight against Foxy didn't seem that significant to the overall story, what if there was a much higher stakes Davy Bag fight between the Straw Hats and the Red Hair Pirates? Whether it's a friendly match or deadly serious, the Davy Bag fight needs to come back into the story, or else the Foxy arc just doesn't seem to fit into the story at all. And that would be a shame, because it's the only arc I really don't like so far. Well, how about really wild conspiracies for a change? What if I told you that Dracula Mihawk is living a lie? While he does hold the mantle of world's greatest swordsman right now, he outright refuses to duel with the one swordsman who used to fight him regularly: Shanks. Now, Mihawk claims it's because Shanks lost his dominant arm and therefore can't keep up, but if Shanks can claim the status of a Yonko with his remaining one arm, then perhaps Mihawk actually knows that he's plainly outclassed by Shanks. Oh wait, this might be the most controversial one we have in here. And now our submarine is reaching tier number 6 with this crazy theory. Shanks knew the truth about the Nika fruit. Even though he told Luffy it was the Gomu Gomu no Mi, he targeted the marine ship that was carrying it because he knew how important that fruit was. He learned the truth of Laugh Tale and the One Piece from Roger and knew that for Joy Boy to return, the Nika fruit had to make its way back to the right person. And so Roger stationed Crocus at the entrance of the Grand Line to keep an eye on any potential candidates for Joy Boy entering the Grand Line and help them find the right way. Remember that Crocus was the one who gave the log post to Nami and the Straw Hats. And he's also the first person to tell them about Laugh Tale. Roger then stationed Rayleigh at the entrance to the New World, helping the next Pirate King to get strong enough for the second half of the Grand Line. And will you look at that, Rayleigh did help the Straw Hats reach Fishman Island and also personally trained Luffy for 2 full years. And so lastly, Roger ordered Shanks with stealing Joy Boy's devil fruit from the government and then finding the right person to eat it. Oh, and here's another popular theory about Shanks' true goal. One reason that he will stand in Luffy's way at the end is because he acts as the guardian of Laugh Tale. He has his crew stationed in the New World specifically to prevent any unworthy pirate from reaching the One Piece by accident, or even not by accident. This next one, on the other hand, comes from One Piece film Red once again, where a one-off line probably has revealed Shanks' true surname. This continues the tradition of One Piece movies giving us big reveals, such as Stampede revealing that Raftel was actually Laugh Tale. And that name is Figureland. Now, it doesn't seem like the name Figureland tells us too much about Shanks or who he might be connected to. The Gorosei speculated that Uta is a Figureland as well, which would in turn likely connect this family name to Shanks, given that it came from the 𝙻𝚎, is this another hint that Shanks could be a celestial dragon? And I do hope that you brought along something warm like your coat, because it is getting kinda cold down here at tier level 7. We're almost at the bottom now, and things are about to get really crazy. Like, Shanks has the power to see the future, and we're not talking about simple advanced observation hockey here. Katakuri may be able to see 5-6 seconds into the future, but we're talking about seeing way ahead. Shanks warned Whitebeard not to let Ace fight Blackbeard. He warned the 𝙻𝚎 about a certain pirate, and when he saved Kobe, he told him that the moments he bought had changed the future. So what if Shanks wasn't speaking figuratively here, but he can literally see far ahead into the future? And since we're asking some really deep questions here, why was Shanks in the East Blue to meet Luffy to begin with? Well, according to this theory, he had planned to give the Nika fruit to Ace instead. While he was in Windmill Village, he'd originally arrived to find Roger's son, thinking that Ace would grow up to become the future Pirate King, following in his father's footsteps. However, he then had a change of heart when he happened to meet Luffy, who shared the same secret dream as Roger. Either that, or Luffy just ate it by accident, and that's how the entire story went. And speaking of people's dreams, we also have to talk about Blackbeard as well, because this theory suggests that Blackbeard was the one who gave Shanks his scar. Throughout the story, Shanks has warned many people how dangerous Blackbeard is, pleading with Whitebeard, probably the 𝙻𝚎 and more, in order to get people to take Teach seriously as a threat. And despite how much Shanks has wanted to stop the threat of Blackbeard, it hasn't stopped his meteoric rise to power. Blackbeard is now actively seeking the keys to reach the One Piece, which means it's only a matter of time before these two Yonko will clash. And if Blackbeard were to kill Shanks, especially before Shanks and Luffy are able to reunite, it would be one of the most heartbreaking moments in the entire series, and it would give Luffy the ultimate motivation for taking down Marshall D. Teach. Okay, but if you thought things were insane so far, now that we've reached the bottom of the iceberg, things are about to get really wild. Here on tier number 8, these are the wildest Shanks theories on the internet. Now, one famous theory you might have heard about Shanks is that he's actually the son of Roxy 𝙻𝚎, but we say that's nonsense. In fact, Shanks is just a distraction from Rox's real son, Buggy. And hey, I mean, it's Oda. Anything can happen. Also, why is Shanks' haki so strong that he can make a Marine Admiral retreat from miles away? Well, that's because he's a haki man who ate the haki fruit, of course. This theoretical, extremely overpowered devil fruit gives him the ultimate command over every type of haki: armament, observation, and conquerors, and gives him the power to trounce any other devil fruit user because, as we know, haki beats devil fruit. And here's another incredibly unlikely theory. Not only is Shanks a D, he's also the son of Imu, the secret king of the world government. He didn't make an appointment with the 𝙻𝚎 because he's a celestial dragon. He did it because he is the celestial dragon and the heir to the empty throne. Not only is Shanks at the top of the pirating world, but he's also at the top of the world government. Now, this would definitely give credence for him being the final boss of the series, but let's say the evidence here is lacking. And so yeah, this was an entire iceberg all about Shanks, but you can check out the truly gigantic iceberg video covering all the crazy One Piece theories I could find by checking out this video right here. Thanks for watching.